Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining wherever you're joining from. Thank you for being here. I see a few new people in the chat. Always nice to see people and where they're joining from, as always. I see Matt from Warsaw and a new mini supporter from earlier. Thank you for supporting the channel. Welcome as a channel member. You get access to the behind the scenes Discord, where we chat about stuff throughout the week and I share what's going on the channel. So nice to see you. I like David's comment here from earlier. I can't wait till we have live streaming automated software that can do everything, including making you appear talking and doing something scripted live while you watch it miles away. You know, we're really, really close. I was actually experimenting with an AI tool the other day. You can give it a photo of yourself and then it will like animate it and like make the mouth move. It looked weird, obviously, working off just one photo, but it was surprisingly good considering. So, yeah, that's not that far off. I feel like it would be, given the amount of videos of myself I have on YouTube, I feel like that's enough data to train an AI to replace myself. So who knows? Maybe I will join my live stream remotely sometime and it'll just be an AI. How do you even know I'm real in the first place? You never know. Okay. What is the plan for today? If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Start with the letter Q and it filters them on my screen a little bit better so that I will be able to see them. So yeah, drop your questions and we will start chatting. Oh, here's a question already. From WUOTE. I don't know how to say that. Sorry. Hi, what's the correct order of color space transforms? Camera to Ninja V corrective application, Magewell capture card, and Magewell settings in OBS. Just set it to auto. If this is for going live, then I would, yeah, probably do the colored corrections earlier in the stream and not do it in your computer. And then in Magewell settings in OBS, I didn't even know there were settings that you could adjust that for that in OBS, because I don't use OBS very often except for the chat. Let's see. I should have a OBS device in OBS here somewhere, because I do have a capture card on this computer. Let's see. It's not a Magewell. It's an AV Matrix. But oh, so maybe it's one of these input formats. Yeah, probably auto is probably good enough. If it doesn't look right, that's a good sign that you should do something different. But yeah, for that, I would record. I would, if you want to capture the video and record later for separate editing other than live, then you could record in camera in your with your flat color, do the transform in the Ninja. That way you get the normal colors in the computer. But if you don't care about any of that, then it might be better to just set your camera to auto color space too, because it can do the correction just as well as the Ninja can. Medium X is hi from Las Vegas, where it's still around 80 in April. Wow. Yep. Okay, cool. Good questions coming in. Bert says, just purchased ATEM 2ME Constellation HD. I have a web presenter, but I want to record as well as live stream. All I need is to get audio from the live stream. Any recommendations? Wait. All I need is to get audio from the live stream. Not sure what that means. So if you want to record, so the 2ME is just the switcher, and it's the I'm using the 4ME for this stream, but same idea. It's the rack mount one, and it doesn't have any recording or streaming features built in, unlike the ATEM minis or the ATEM like the table consoles. So it's just the switcher, which means you will need a streaming encoder and a recorder separately. You've got the web presenter already, so you're covered there. If you want to record it, you need something to record. HyperDeck would make sense. So a HyperDeck is another rack mount thing, and that would be able to take one of the outputs from the Constellation and record, or you could loop out of the web presenter and record that as well. So audio, as far as audio goes, the ATEM has just like one audio mix in it. So all of the output ports will have the same audio on them. So if you're grabbing audio from any of the ports, then that'll be recorded. You don't have to do anything special for that. It should just work. Okay, if you have any follow-up, let me know. Follow-up questions. David says that GH6 has HDMI raw video output. If I connect a GH6 to a Yellow Box Pro, would the camera be displaying raw video on the Yellow Box? I haven't done much experimenting with HDMI, with raw HDMI. My understanding is that it won't work at all unless the device you're sending to supports the raw HDMI from that particular camera. So like there have been announcements about various devices like at the Atomos recorders and the Video Assist supporting RAW from particular cameras. So I have a feeling it's just not going to do anything on the Yellow Box. That's my guess. Vicky says, are you thinking of getting the Blackmagic replay board to play with? Yeah, so I actually have, so it's not out yet, first of all. I think it was July, don't quote me on that, but I think it was a few months away before the actual controller comes out. But the feature is there in Resolve right now. So you can download Resolve and use the replay feature. I did do some experimenting with it. Actually, on this computer, I'm not going to do it right now because I actually am getting a handful of gear on loan from Blackmagic, which arrives tomorrow, so I can actually do a proper demo. Things like an extra hyperdeck and I can't even remember what else. It was stuff that's available now because the other stuff is not out yet. But that will at least let me do some demos in Resolve of the replay feature. So we will be able to take a look at that on the stream next week, and I'll have some videos out about it in the near future. I will say, so I downloaded the new Resolve and I was playing with it on this computer actually last week, and it was kind of incredible. Like it really does just pull your, it can just grab your video files as the HyperDeck's recording to a network. It'll just grab them off the network storage and play them in real time. So yeah, definitely cool feature. But once the actual controller comes out, I'll see if I can get my hands on that as well, so I can do some demos and actually use the controller, because that's where the power really comes out. It's a lot nicer to have physical buttons for things instead of poking around on a screen. I will have to simulate sports ball. I'm gonna I have to figure out how to get something in here that I can use as replay footage that is more than just me moving things around on the table. Possibly a game on the Switch. I don't know. We'll see. If you have any suggestions, let me know, because yeah, there's obviously no one playing sports ball in here for me to film. Okay, great. Questions are rolling in. Let me, again, put a Q in front of your question so that it goes into my question list. Otherwise, it gets lost in the chat. Let me grab this one before it goes away, since there is no Q, but I see it on my screen from MMM Video Productions. Good morning. My question is about setting up a Stream Deck to be able to control recording on the ATEM Extreme ISO. Is there a particular question? So, you know, I still haven't done a video properly about this, but the connection between a Stream Deck and the ATEM, the best option is Companion. The software is called Companion, and let me drop a link to that in here. I don't have a tutorial video, but John from Here to Record does. So let me go grab his channel. I don't know which is the best video link right now, but I'll drop a link to his channel. Anyway, oh, it's on the webpage for Companion, of course. And anyway, this is software that you can run on a computer or Raspberry Pi, and then that talks to the ATEM, and this talks to the Stream Deck. So this is what I'm doing right now for this stream. I can show you my config. For some reason, the web presenter keeps getting disconnected from it, but so it's connected to a bunch of different devices, including an ATEM, my home automation system, HyperDex. Then you get all these buttons that you can create to control the show. So this is like my main show page. So I have all of my different camera angles, and I have a little thing that I can click to pop up this animation, and that's all being done. That's like controlling it in the ATEM. So this definitely the way to go. John has a good tutorial, and oh yeah, and David Joshua Ford also has good tutorials on that as well. All right, I'm gonna go back through the chat before these get too far away. Dr. Explorers said, which action camera HDMI out is best to live stream while traveling, showing POV on road footage? Ooh, so okay, if you actually are using the camera for like being outside and filming action stuff, GoPros are good at that. They have good stabilization. The trick with the GoPro is that you're going to be fighting with it to get to actually make it useful for live streaming. I have a video about what settings you should change in a GoPro to use it. I also have a video explaining when you should not be using a GoPro for live streaming, which is in a studio because it doesn't make any sense. But if you're actually outside and you like want to mount it to a car or something, great. That's a good use for a GoPro. It's probably the best option as far as action cameras go for that. But you definitely want to take a look at this video, which I'm going to link in the chat in a second. There's a couple settings there that you'll want to change to make it actually work well for getting HDMI out. And the most important one is to install that GoPro Labs firmware, which will let you use, you can like flash QR codes in front of the camera to configure settings. So you can actually have like presets and change things much faster than fiddling on the screen, which is also great if the camera's like mounted somewhere. And that also gives you the ability to have it boot into like straight into HDMI out mode when you plug in HDMI versus normally you plug it in and it goes into like video playback mode, which again, it's not a streaming camera. It's a action camera. So you can make it work. It's probably what I'd recommend. Would you like some real game footage? I could probably send you something. Oh, that's a thought. I would be worried about copyright claims on that. If it's like from an actual news network, but if it's like someone's local game that like you filmed, that would be cool. That would work. Although it does mean I would have to double all the gear in order to be able to play back the videos into another HyperDeck that's recording them. I can make it work. I can make it work. Artonio says, did you already check 2.1.0 OC firmware? Ooh, I don't remember which version is the last one I installed, actually. Let me see when that came out. The OC Go Stream Deck. Let's see. Where's their software? Is it down at the bottom? I don't know where the download link is. There we go. Firmware for Go Stream Deck. This was... it's the companion support. No, I have not downloaded this one yet. Fantastic. Signal to HDMI 2 can be selected like the HDMI 1. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Mobile phone hotspot. Cool. This is exciting. This is great. I'm excited for companion support. Download and install the companion plugin. I wonder if that's in companion yet. Did they actually get it? Oh wait, I'm out of date, so I need to update my companion too. Well, I've got some work to do. That'll be a good one for next week. I should do that. I should do a demo of that. That is exciting. Brizwiz says, also good to run GoPro labs firmware so the HDMI of the media mod to go straight to clean feed. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You definitely, if you don't install the labs, then plugging in HDMI does not give you video out, which is extremely frustrating. I feel like, I don't know who uses a GoPro and wants to plug in HDMI and watch the footage on a TV. So yeah. Whoa. Okay, I'm getting way behind. IDJ Mike says, what is your favorite live streaming switcher to live stream with that just works without issue? Ooh, tough one. Favorite live streaming switcher that just works? Well, again, it depends on where I'm streaming from. If it's in a studio, it's probably going to be an ATEM Mini, because again, like in a controlled environment, as long as your network connection is good, the ATEM is still solid. You have to like I would obviously use Companion with it, so it's not a standalone thing. The Ghost Stream Deck is also turning out to be pretty solid. And it has more stuff in it than the ATEM, and it's very similar. So that would be pretty high up on that list. But again, it kind of depends on the context we're talking about. So if I'm outside somewhere, I'm probably not going to bring an ATEM. IT Never Gets Old says, is there some new functionality coming from Blackmagic for outputting your multiviews on the ATEM? Yeah, so this was, now I also can't remember the reason, but yes, what Grant said in the announcement, the last live stream announcement, was that the ATEM Mini, I doubt the original Mini, but the Pro, yeah, no, the original Mini doesn't even have multi-view, so of course not. But the Pro and the Extreme are going to have an option to output the multi-view over USB. Instead of right now, the USB output is only the program video. So the purpose of that would be like, if you wanted to bring the multi-view into your computer screen and watch the multi-view in your computer, right now the only way to do it is like through a separate capture card, which is silly. So that would let you, for example, on the ATEM Mini, use the one HDMI out for recording program or something like that while looking at the multi-view on the computer. But I believe it was connected to the new replay feature. So if you have an ATEM Mini ISO or Extreme, where you're recording the 4 channels to a SSD, then if you wanted to pull that up in Resolve, you could then have the multi-view from the ATEM show up in Resolve so that you can use your computer as the monitor for that. So we'll see when that comes out. I have no idea when to expect that, but I'm assuming if they're like shipping the hardware in July, maybe we can expect a July update for that kind of stuff. But that'll be cool to see. Okay, good question from David. If I'm in a Microsoft Teams or Zoom and I have my camera and computer connecting over HDMI into the YOLO box, how do I incorporate audio from Zoom coming from a computer together with camera audio? Trying to follow the dots here. So if your cameras and your computer are HDMI into the YOLO box, and then are you going USB from the YOLO box back into your computer into Zoom? So then you're sending Zoom audio. Oh, so Zoom audio from the computer, if you want that to be sent, this is where the mix minus is gonna mess things up. But you could change your computer's audio settings to output audio into the YOLO box. So for example, if you look at my, like if I go up to the little audio speaker up here, I can send my audio out of the speakers of this computer, or like what I'm doing right now, it's actually going into well, this is what is that device? Why is it just called Blackmagic? It's going into that's the converter box. So that's actually a HDMI to SDI converter, which is how my computer screen is getting into the stream. So my computer audio is being routed into the ATEM, which is like how you'd be doing it with into the YOLO box. The problem is if you're then in Zoom, one, you won't hear that audio because it's going to be sent out to the YOLO box, so you have to use headphones on the YOLO box. But the problem is that the YOLO box then sends the Zoom audio back into the computer, which makes a feedback loop. So it doesn't really work that way in a Zoom meeting. The other way to do it is Zoom has a option of sending the audio out a separate device than your computer, so you can route the audio that way. But really, to make that work, if you're trying to do like be on a Zoom call and record the Zoom audio in a stream that you're also back in Zoom, you kind of need 2 capture cards to make it work, or 2 or for audio routing. So for questions like David's, have you considered using your iPad to draw a diagram? Yeah. Or H2R gear, which is yeah, which is a nice way to do it. Let's see if I'm... No, that might take too long. Yeah, it's gonna take too long. But yeah, Andre says, mix minus with conference software and ATEM multicam setups is always a challenge when you wish to record it all. Then we come to your video and the combinations from that. One video I will point you to that I did recently is this video about recording Zoom meetings with the RØDE Streamer X and the Magewell Director Mini. This would also work just as well with the YOLO box. Almost just as well in the YOLO box. I think there's like one thing that wouldn't be exactly the same, but this goes through that setup, and the trick is using the Streamer X for your audio routing. So that lets you do the mix minus there separately from whatever video recording device you're using. Oh, Larry joined you as an extreme supporter. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me see. You had a question earlier, I think. Here it is. Has anybody tried using an ATEM Mini as a 4 or 8 input recorder when using an ATEM Constellation? Trying to figure out how to trigger the Mini to switch the same as the Constellation. Oh, fun. Yeah, I do have that. I do have that set up here. So I am using the Constellation, and then I have 4 of the outputs running into a little ATEM Mini that's up there, the ATEM Mini SDI. And I do use it as a 4-channel recorder for exactly that reason. I hadn't considered making it switch to match the Constellation. But that's because I mostly use it for just simultaneous, just record everything and I edit later. But you could, I think, do this in Companion. Should we do a little test? Let's see, how am I going to show this? I think I need to get the multi-view of that ATEM up on screen. So we can do that with, build a quick little super source layout with the other super source. We've got artwork is great. The background, we've got box 1 is going to be, I have a preset for, it'll get us close. Let's see, it's that one. Yeah. So that gives us that camera in the corner. Box 2, instead of the Fire TV, we're going to make that be my computer screen. So you can see what I'm doing. We're going to shrink that down a bit more. Go over there. Now I can show you that. And now we're going to add box 3, which is going to be the multi-view of the ATEM. So that's this guy. And this ATEM, we're going to shrink it down to about there and put it even more. and just so you can see what's going on that ATEM. And then we're going to make that ATEM match the switches I'm doing on my main ATEM. So that's why I'm wanting to switch and not just use it as an ISO recorder. Okay, cool. Yeah. So here we go. So first I need to decide which 4 video feeds are going into this ATEM. So I have mine set up to the first 4. So I'll have this one. I'm going to actually switch to my camera. 2 will be, let's make it my computer. 3 will be let's do the desk overhead. And then 4 is actually going to be the super source of, let's say it's not the one that's streaming, otherwise it will make an infinite loop, but let's make it the other super source layout. Okay, so you can see the 4. This would be like a typical setup, right? Where I want to switch between showing my camera, show my computer screen, show side by side, and maybe a third angle. So first thing what I would do is I would make a new companion page for this, because we're going to need to do some stuff. I want buttons. There's presets for the constellation, so we can do constellation. Yeah, so there's 2 ways we can do this. If I make a new companion page that just has buttons for these 4 angles, I can actually make one button in companion send switch commands to 2 ATEMs. The other way to do it is to make it so that we use triggers in companion to make the other ATEM respond anytime the other ATEM is triggered. So let's first set up the buttons. I'm just gonna make 4 buttons here. So it's program ME1. So this is on the big ATEM, right? So I'm gonna have a button for my main camera, a button for my computer screen in slot 2 to match the ATEM, a button for desk overhead, which is, that's table overhead, where's the desk overhead? There it is. And then super source 1. And now this will actually change what's on the stream, so it's not gonna, so yeah, so here if I click this button, right, that actually changes, so okay. So if you look at what this did, the presets are great because they're like a short way to create these buttons, but pressing this actually runs this command in the constellation. So I could add a second one, which is ATEM SDI, set the program input, and that would be camera 1. And now if I press that button, let me go do it on the problem is this is actually controlling my actual stream too. It's like I need another ATEM to demo this with. So you get the idea though, right? So if I add another one for this, program input camera 4. So now if I press super source 1, it's going to change the other super source layout and change what the other ATEM is on program. So I do need another ATEM in order to demonstrate this effectively. Essentially what we're doing is we're linking 2 ATEMs. So this works. You can make 2 actions for every button, but that means if you have to switch with these buttons, right? Because if I go back to my main page, then it's not going to, oops, this one. If I press this button, it doesn't have the action on the other ATEM. So the other way to do this is with triggers. So with this one, oh, this was an example. This was one of my old triggers for a completely automated stream where I play back a recording, pushing buttons. But let's get rid of, I don't know what that is, and that one. Oh, I forgot I have a trigger to turn off my studio lights. That's funny. So we add a new trigger, and what we do is we say ATEM SDI 1. So the event, no, the event is on a condition becoming true. So when the condition of constellation, well, I don't know why it's written out with letters 1. That's confusing. So let me, oops, oh no. I tried zooming in on my screen and it crashed the computer. Oh, there we go. Okay. When the constellation gets the desk camera in program, then we will set the program of the ATEM SDI to camera 1. Cool. Then we do this again for each angle. So we can copy that. ATEM SDI 2. And this is the computer screen going to camera 2. How am I going to actually show you this? As soon as I'm... You're going to have to take my word for it, which isn't great. Oh, I can do it with another ME. I have more ATEMs in this ATEM. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do it with the second ME. So we're going to use ME2 for this. So actually, I'm going to make this respond to ME2 computer, and then this will be ME2. Great. And then we do this again. ATEM SDI 3. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. So this is the desk overhead, and that's camera 3. So I'm basically making links between each of my big ATEMs inputs and the small ATEMs. Super source 1 is camera 4. Great. So let's turn these on. And this is on ME2. And now what I need, I think we're going to need a bigger rack. Yes. Now what I need to do is add ME2 to the super source. So we're going to have to move this. We're going to move, oops, not that. We're going to move box 3 up a little bit. And we're going to add box 4 also at 0.3. And this is going to be ME2. Okay. So this is like having another ATEM here. And now what I can do is when I change ME2 on the ATEM, no matter how I'm doing it, whether it's companion or not, the ATEM SDI should switch to match. So let's try this. Desk. Yep. So now in ME2, I've got the main camera down in the bottom right corner and the ATEM SDI matched. And if I switch to something else that's doesn't have a trigger, it's not going to do anything, right? And as soon as I switch to my computer screen, the ATEM SDI is going to switch to match. And that should also work with the desk overhead and super source. So it's all matching the switches now. Obviously, if I switch to something that there isn't a corresponding input of those 4, then nothing happens, which is fine. But yeah, now they're in sync. So I can switch on the ATEM. This is, again, I'm just using the software control, but I could be switching this with the Stream Deck now at this point too. If I had any buttons on the Stream Deck for controlling the second ME, which I don't. But no matter how I'm switching on the ATEM, the other one is now linked with triggers. So the magic there is these triggers in companion. So that's the demo. Look at that. I had a second ATEM the whole time. Yeah, I think that's a better solution than these buttons, because that way you don't have to worry about how you're controlling it. That was a fun little demo. The answer to how many ATEMs you need is always one more. It's true. Always one more. Okay, where was that question? Oh, good. You said Raspberry Pi to run companion. Good, that's a good way to do it. Yes, that makes sense. You want the DaVinci file that corresponds to your cuts in the big one. Awesome. I didn't want to buy a Softron multicam recorder. Oh yeah, I guess that would work also. But yeah, cool. Gwen says, can you set a trigger with a variable so Companion figures out what input is live and syncs both switchers appropriately? Would that just be to like save the trouble of making the 4 triggers? I don't think so. Because these... Oh, I didn't know you could edit the... I didn't know you could edit the description. That's cool. Yeah, because you can't use variables in here. But that wasn't... It's either 4 or 8 triggers you have to make, so it's not that bad. All right, let me go back, scroll back up to... To save some trouble to program multiple buttons, mostly out of curiosity. Yeah, I don't see a way to do it, but it didn't take too long to make those buttons either way. From the law library, says, under which use cases should I be concerned about using input 1 and 2 on the ATEM Extreme? Concerned? Not really. The use for them is that you can set the ATEM Extreme to output input 1 and input 2 over HDMI without going through their processor. So it's like a pass-through output, which is really only necessary if you need to output like on a screen, like a TV or a projector with no delay. So for gaming, that's like a common use case is you feed your video game system into input 1, take HDMI 1 out to your TV, and then in the ATEM software control, I have to go over to the ATEM Extreme, which is upstairs. Where is that one? Shoot, forgot the IP address. Really? There it is. Okay. So this one has output 1. This option down here, which is called the direct option, that will output without going through the video processor. And that way it'll be less delay or no delay. Matt says, I'm on the beta version on the Yellowbox Ultra 193. I have my live stream today, and I'll report back next week if it's any good. Oh, good. Great. Vance says, have you come across the OC Go Stream Deck Pro? If so, what? Did you have a more to that sentence? Did it get lost somewhere? Nope. I don't know. Yes, I have. I have a live demo of it, a couple now. And we'll do a demo next week because there's a new companion feature for that. So that's very cool. Bert says, anything other than using a hyperdeck? I don't know what that is in the context of. Sorry. AXA Film. Are there PCs with 2 Thunderbolt 3.4 ports so can get full PCI 4 lanes on each? Need to connect 2. Oh, wow. I don't know. I haven't bought a PC, like a Windows PC in ages at this point. So I've got a Mac Mini here and that's it. Yeah. Sounds like a cat demolition derby upstairs. Yeah, it is. I see. Lily did not go to work today because she got a virus on the way back from her last trip. Somehow I don't have it. We did I didn't get it in Vegas, and I got home after she left for a trip to Chicago, and she got back and got sick. So that's the noise upstairs. I think she's cleaning out the cat food. Matt says, what app software do you recommend for multi-platform streaming? Also, your thoughts on YOLO Live while Instagram allows streaming using OBS. 2 parts, 2 questions. So multi-platform streaming, there are some devices that will do it themselves, like support streaming to multiple locations. And so like the Yellowbox does, the Magewell Director Mini does, the OC does, a couple other switchers as well. which is fine. That's useful. The only downside to that is that you need the bandwidth to support the multiple streams out, with the exception of the YOLObox, which has their own server you can proxy through. And that's one way to do it for sure. If you don't have one of those that can do it natively, then there's a bunch of services that'll do it for you. So they're like Restream.io. I don't even, there's a handful of these that all basically work the same. You have to pay for it somehow, some subscription. You send your one stream up, and they broadcast out to multiple. They're fine. They're all fine. I mean, I've used Restream.io before, but there's tons of other options. And Restream is like, because obviously that's like a pretty niche use case, they've started adding a bunch of features now too, so they can do a lot more than that, which is good and bad. You can also build your own if you don't want to pay for a product like that. It's not terribly difficult to do it using Nginx on on a server that you rent on Amazon or some cloud provider. Obviously, it's more work, but it is pretty reasonably well documented how to do that. And at least then you're only paying for just like the server. You're not paying the premium for the service, Restream service. And I've done that many times, actually. I do have it actually, I have it running on a server here so that I can do fancy routing of streams. Epiphan Pearl Nano is another one that can do the restreaming or multi-streaming to multiple platforms, which I used for NAB. Which brings me to your second question, which was your thoughts on YOLO Live while Instagram allows streaming using OBS. So the Instagram now supports RTMP ingestion for streams, which obviously is very different from only being able to stream from the Instagram app. So what YOLO Live did with the Ultra and the InStream device is they let it just run the Instagram app, and then they provide essentially a virtual camera to the OS, the Android OS, so that Instagram doesn't even know it's more than one camera connected. And that was kind of a clever way around the problem of there being no way to support multicam streaming or even external camera streaming on Instagram, which is now no longer a problem. So if you do want to stream from an RTMP encoder to Instagram, you can. But I think that there's plenty of uses for there's plenty of people who don't want to go to the trouble of setting up a whole separate multicam rig and just want to use the YOLObox to go straight to Instagram, which is fine. The downside of what they do need to do an update for this, because there's two issues. So actually, I mean, you can technically push from YOLO Live in horizontal mode to Instagram right now over RTMP, which will let you go to live to multiple platforms. So you can push one stream to YouTube, one to Instagram. What Instagram does if they get a horizontal video is they crop in on the middle part of it, which means obviously it's slightly lower resolution than if you were streaming a full 1920 1080 vertical picture to them. Although they still say they only support up to 720, even though they do technically support 1080. But so what you're going to get on Instagram, if you're sending a horizontal canvas to two locations, YouTube and Instagram, you're going to see two different things. The stream to YouTube is going to have the horizontal, and the stream to Instagram is going to be cropped in, which you can use that to your advantage, like what I did with the NAB stream, which was this one. So on this one, this is what we saw on YouTube with a horizontal stream. And you might notice that the middle chunk of it is the only part that was actually from Vegas. The rest of this is from the ATEM. So this is a picture of the studio, the rack in the studio. This is a little sponsor blurbs. And then I knew that Instagram would be cropping out the middle chunk. So on Instagram, you only saw that. So kind of cool. You can provide two different things to the two platforms. But if you wanted this whole horizontal video to go to Instagram, you need to do something different, because you basically need to give it a vertical canvas, which means rotating this, putting it inside of a switcher that supports a vertical canvas, sending a vertical canvas to Instagram, which you also can do, but you need another device for that. That I did in a video. Where is it? it's, oh, there it is. A few months ago now. So this is using the Magewell Director Mini to do the vertical canvas, which the YOLO box can't do yet. So that video goes through that setup of basically having two totally different streams. So, and I think, Julian, this is going to answer your question too. Is there a good way to support simultaneous horizontal and vertical streaming? Take a look at the video I just dropped in the chat, because that goes through exactly what you need in order to make that work, which is basically two separate encoders. One takes the output of one and then rotates it and puts it on some other artwork for the vertical canvas. Is my editor working on aggregating my NAB content for upload to YouTube? Yes, it's almost done. It's almost done. It's a lot of videos, it turns out. So yeah, we're most of the way through it now. So I'm hoping it comes out this week. Let's see where we were. Gwen says, I'm eager to see the OC Duet when it's launched. Mix of SDI and HDMI is really appealing. Yeah, I have it here. So that's what we'll check out next week. And it is a very cool feature. We'll do a little live demo of it next week. I think it's not shipping yet, so I'm going to save like a published video for later, but with a little sneak peek next week. Cameron says, if you were marooned on a desert island, what would be your top 3 to 5 pieces of equipment to continue your live streams? Ooh. Good question. Let's see. Marooned on a desert island. So that means I might need 5. So let's assume that the desert island is close enough to land where there's a cell tower within reach. So I need a cell modem of somehow. So I need let's say it's my phone. I need power. So if I'm on a desert island, there's plenty of sun, but there's gonna be no power lines. So let's grab a solar panel and battery. Big battery that solar panel can charge. Is that two things, or is that one thing? Let's call it one thing. And then probably at this point it would be the Magewell Director Mini, because that gives me a ton of flexibility for things, including using my phone as a camera. I can, so which I have. I would need a camera of some sort. For that, it would probably be, gosh, you know what? It would be easiest if I could just use a webcam instead of a HDMI camera, because the webcam would be powered by the Director Mini. So I'm going to grab the OBSBot Tiny 2. Decent picture from it, actually. This little one. I really need to redo my studio, so I have those drawers over here. This is decent picture from this, but importantly, powered from USB. And then the I need a computer, and I think that's the 5th. I need a computer in order to be able to like go live on YouTube, because turns out you can't use the YouTube studio on your phone really. So okay, computer, Director Mini, Tiny 2. Oh, audio, shoot. Battery, cell phone. I need something for audio, because there is a mic in this. It's never as good as having a mic close to your face. So I'm gonna I need 6 things, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be the Rode Wireless Pro, because the battery lasts a long time on that. So that's what it would be. That'd be a fun little rig to put together. Maybe I can do that. Do that next week too. I should make a note of all these things I'm saying I'm gonna do next week. Otherwise, I'm going to forget them. Next week is what? It's May 5th. Wow, April is already over. Okay, so we're gonna do demo OC go stream firmware update and SDI duet, and then we're also going to build desert island streaming rig. Cool. Yep. Okay, that'd be fun. How am I doing chat on screen these days? I looked at your behind the scenes video in a previous video you did on the topic. So I'm still using the same thing I've been using for a couple of years now, which is based on the Chrome extension that I have in the Chrome store. However, it is slightly different, my own custom software for it, which is basically pulling the chats from the API and giving me this screen, which looks like this, so that I can see my questions column here and go through them that way. That way, when the chat gets full, I can still, quickly find the ones that are not answered yet. And then when I click on one, it shows up in the browser, which is pulled up in OBS. So if I go over to OBS, you'll see the chat is over there, which is just loading the same the web page that this thing is pushing to. So it's all it's similar to the Chrome extension, except the Chrome extension just pulls the chats from the YouTube chat page itself rather than from the API. But you can still push it to an external screen, which means you can bring it into OBS and things like that. Next week is the day after May the 4th, so maybe incorporate some Star Wars. Oh, good point. I forgot. Sven says, okay, solar panel, Mac with streaming software, iPhone as webcam and microphone, and uplink. 2 devices still open. That's another thought. That's a thought. Matt says, mine would be Starlink, solar with battery. Oh, Starlink would solve that. Solar with battery, Yellow Box Ultra, Pocket 3 with DJI mic, iPhone rig. That's a good list too. Does the Pocket 3 with DJI mic solve? Yellow Box Ultra means you don't need a computer to start the stream. That does help. Also Cinco de Mayo. Star Wars and margaritas. Cameron, thank you for the super chat. Great, great question to get us thinking. Manon says, hi, your OBS chat plugin is really good. Thank you. Glad you like it. Sven says, I know you don't like software streaming, but a basic setup on an island warrants some compromises. Yeah, that's fair. I did a live stream with an EcoFlow battery, Starlink, and an ATEM Extreme and cameras. No solar, though. Nice. Okay. All right, let me scroll back up because I'm getting lost here. DJ Mike says, if you tested out the Top Director app, best on iPad, looks like it has some huge potential, something like 12 cameras and live stream from an iPad. I haven't. Have not checked that out. Maybe I should. Oh, good reminder from IDJ Mike. 100 people here, only 6 likes. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the content. Good reminder. Thank you for that. Yes. Cinco de Mayo is not a thing in Mexico. Yes. BrizzWiz says live streaming from DJI drones over RTMP through Restream to various platforms has considerable lag, 20 seconds. Any way to get lag down to like 4 seconds cheaply? Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. RTMP is going to add a delay no matter what, and especially if you're going through the Restream. So one option is instead of having the drone do the stream over RTMP, get the controller that has the HDMI out. It's the expensive one, unfortunately, but there is a controller with HDMI out, because then whatever you're seeing on the screen is what's sent over HDMI, and then you go into whatever tool you want. So that would help get the lag down, because then your lag is just whatever RTMP delay from your streaming encoder to the platform. But I will say, I'm guessing that most of the delay here is being added by Restream. So you're going to need to fix that as well. Either give up on the multiple platform idea and just go direct, or if you're building your own using Nginx and open source software, you can get the delay down better, but it's going to take some tuning to get that to work. An audio interface. Oh, this is from earlier. An audio interface with at least 4 inputs or outs made in the last 5 years usually has the ability to create custom mixes or make a mix for your speakers and one for your box. Yeah, that's a good point. I need a way to get responses to things I'm talking about. You'll see those better. Interesting. Dennis says, do you know if you can get FIZ control with the Olympus Digital 150-600 plus BGH1? I haven't used any Olympus lenses. I've only used Lumix lenses, so I'm not sure if you get the zoom control on those. Sorry. Can any of the OC GoStream HDMI outs be used as an aux out? If they're both programmed, it makes it difficult to use in Zoom to not send Zoom the same video that it sends you. Right. Yeah. OC does have multiple HDMI outs, and they are configurable. Oh, and I saw in that update notes, there was, where was it? Yeah, so now actually both are configurable. So that's cool. Yeah. So it's always been that one was configurable, and now they updated it to make both, which is great. Andre says, have you experienced placing the Stream Deck really far away from the companion PC via solution as USB over the network? Yes, I have. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now. So if you look at my desk, I have a little Stream Deck here, but the Raspberry Pi for it is actually in the rack back there, which is about, this is about 10 feet. Yeah, about 10 feet plus the horizontal, it goes around, so it's like 20 feet, which is far too long for a regular USB. But this was actually, what I did is I got a fiber USB cable, and that has been working well. So it's not over the network, it is a direct connection, but it's been working great. Let me see if I can find it. It was not cheap, unfortunately. Nope. Do I have it in my Amazon? USB extension cable, 30 feet. That's the one. Fiber optic. Yeah, so it was like $70, which is kind of a lot, but it's been working great. Oh, geez. And where is the link? There it is. Fiber USB cable. Can hear you resting your hands on the desk. Thud, thud, thud. I think that's the upstairs. I think that's not my desk. My desk is. Oh, it is attached to the mic, so maybe you are hearing a little bit of it. No, I think you're hearing the thumping around upstairs more. If I can have a sixth item, it would be a drone. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Do I have a promo code for the YOLO Box Ultra? No, I don't. Sorry. It goes on sale now and then, though. Am I aware of a monitor that accepts UVC as video input? It's breaking my brain. Plug in a webcam into a monitor. No. The I guess you could use the YOLO Box or the Director Mini like that. They're not really monitors. But yeah. What's the best hotspot for the YOLO Box Ultra? It can take a SIM card directly, which is going to give you the best connection. But I have used a travel router, a GL iNet router, and then, but I don't know if that's the best. That's what I've used. Chris says I've gone 300 feet USB using a Cat5 extender. Why didn't there was some reason that I didn't do that option. What was it? I think it was that they were all USB 2. I think that's what it was. I couldn't find one that was USB 3, which is probably okay for companion. But I think that's why I didn't go with that option. Yeah, I'm looking through these and I don't see any that support USB 3. Let me know if you found one, though. Oh, yeah, RGB Link, Tau, and OBSBot sells it too. It can convert USB-C to HDMI, which is, yeah, not the same as having it built into a monitor, but yeah, you can do it that way. Added latency for Cat5 extender. I doubt it because they're meant for like keyboard extensions, like for data centers and stuff. So I don't think it would be a added latency, but I think it was that because they're meant for keyboard and mouse extensions, they don't need to support USB 3. Anybody know what Apple iOS app can take an interchangeable lens camera and HDMI input and show that image on Facebook Live? Facebook supports RTMP, so you don't need to use the Facebook app, right? There are a couple of, so now with the latest iOS, apps can use things as use external capture cards. So that means that there's actually going to be a bunch of apps that do this. So the Mevo, this is actually something that Logitech announced at NAB with the Mevo Multicam app, is that it'll support webcam input, which actually means you can connect a switcher to it. So you can connect a ATEM Mini to the Mevo Multicam app if you really wanted to, and then go to whatever platform from there. So, but yeah, there's a handful of applications that are gonna, if not already, will very soon support webcam input. Larry says I just did a quick test and you can use variables. How did you do that? I don't see it. That's cool though. That's great. Okay. when ATEM program one input ID changes, was there a way to use a variable in that? Let's see if I can go back and do a new trigger. New trigger. Event. Oh, right. It's a different section. Use. Oops, I need to. Do I need to take out the little parentheses? There we go. When ATEM program input one ID changes. So how does this save us from having to do multiple things though? Because that's going to run anytime that changes. I don't see how to do it with the actions though, because okay, if your inputs are mapped 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the constellation and 1, 2, 3, 4 into the ATEM, you might be able to do it that way. But the problem is, like with mine, I had like I needed, I routed input 2 on the constellation to input 1 on that ATEM, and then like this one was like input 20 goes to input 3. So I need that mapping can't be done with variables, right? That's just a mapping that needs to exist. So I think that's another advantage of doing it that way. Do I use HDR graphics, and if so, what am I running it on? I'm not using HDR graphics anymore, really. I realized I hadn't actually installed it on this new computer. Oh, it is installed. I think I must have installed it recently. I did have it running my little ask a question graphic on the bottom, but that was like all I was using it for. I feel bad. No, because I don't need a lot of dynamic lower thirds on this, I guess, is the reason I haven't been using it. What is the latest timetable for moving to the top floor of the triplex, getting rid of the cat thumps? Well, then we'll have guest thumps instead of whoever's staying here. At this point, summer looks like. Not exactly sure when. But hey, we got cabinets. Speaking of summer, how is the weather? Oh yeah, good question. I need to automate this, apparently. Let's make sure it's reloaded. And now we got some weather forecasts for everywhere that you all are from. You get zoom control on the 1442 and 1250, so I think you get it on the bigger one too. Oh, it was with the power zoom lenses. Yeah, I have the 14 to 42 here now. It's not the best lens, for sure. But yeah, I don't know about the other Olympus lenses. Weather. Vinyl Vinny says, I like fluid motion more in videos. Is it why switch to NTSC? I live in a PAL area. That's not really going to make a difference. So if you're not getting fluid motion, then so like NTSC and PAL is going to be the difference between 50 or 60 frames a second, or 25 and 30, which is not really a huge difference. The bigger difference is going to be setting your shutter speed to give you the fluid motion. So the rule is like 180 degrees is what it's called. But if you're filming or you're doing live streaming at 25 frames a second, set your shutter speed to 50, and that will give you good motion blur. So like that's what I have right now. So as I move my hand, like you see how it's blurry, and if let me go to the camera and tweak it, which is this one. Oops, where'd it go? Let's use the, yeah, there it is. So here is, oops. Here is my camera control. So let's set the, we're gonna have to change the ISO here. Can we go auto? Yeah, let's do auto ISO really quick. So if I change my shutter speed to, like, let's say it's like 400. Now, let's see, ISO auto, yeah. So you can see the TV is doing a little scrolly thing now, but now watch my hand as it moves. Now we don't get smooth motion, right? Now you see just like it's skipping around. And if I go back to what I had it at 50, which is actually because those lights in the background flicker if it's at 60. So see how they're all flickering now, which I don't like. It's very distracting. So I set it to 50, which is technically not exactly right for the 180-degree rule, but because I'm at 30 frames a second, 50 is close, and now I do get the motion blur, and that makes it look smoother, right? So it's more about the frame rate relative to the shutter speed relative to the frame rate compared to just whether you're in NTSC or PAL. And now I should switch my ISO back to manual. Didn't realize I had it kind of set dark. That's okay. How do I generate the weather overlay? That's all driven by the same thing that's driving the map and the chats. It's all custom code. Kura3E, I don't know what that means, says, if you buy a live streaming setup from Blackmagic, would you go 4K to be future-proof, or would you go for HD? Now, I might go with 4K. Might. The reason is because until this month, there have not been affordable 4K versions of them. So this is expensive, and I also don't need the buttons. I don't really use the button panel at all. It's also huge, but it's great, but like it doesn't work for me. And that's a lot of money. But the new ones are these. I still do not understand why they don't have the super source feature in the 1ME, because that basically makes the 1ME not really useful. So that puts you in the 2ME, which is a chunk of change. It's how much I spent on the 4ME HD version. But I feel like that's actually like approachable. Getting into the $9,000 to $10,000 is, or 11,000 in this case, is like, that's a lot to spend for most people. So I feel like finally this makes it a reasonable price point. Like I could justify this if I was doing, if I used to be doing a lot of filming conferences and stuff, right? And like you get paid from those, and you can easily make back your $3,800 pretty quick, right? So that I would consider that now if I was building a rig from scratch. I am not going to upgrade anytime soon, but yeah, I would consider it, and it wasn't until this was available at this price point that I would consider it. One of the other things to consider, though, if you're going to go 4K, is unless you are really just future proofing, everything has to be 4K. So now you need the 4K web presenter, you need the 4K HyperDecks, and those are all a lot more expensive too. So it's going to cost a lot more. So yeah, exactly, says Gwen. If you go 4K switcher, watch out for potential hidden costs like upgrading cameras if you don't already have 4K out on your cameras. Yeah, for example, the BGH1s that I have, they do 4K out of the HDMI port, but not on the SDI port. So all my cameras are connected over SDI, so I don't have to worry about cable lengths. But that means I don't get 4K out on the SDI. I would have to get a different camera, which is annoying. From the law library says, under which use cases, if any, should I be concerned about variable bitrate versus constant bitrate when streaming? It's mostly about whether the platform you're streaming to cares. And I would say YouTube does care about variable bitrate, mostly that you get this warning, like right now, the stream's bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate, and this will show up in the warning list. This is not really causing any problems, so like I leave it alone. But like the ATEM and the web presenter are variable bitrate, so when I'm streaming a screen like this, my bitrate is 2.8 megabits, and if I go back to my camera, it's going to jump back up to like 6, and then YouTube will stop complaining. It doesn't really cause a problem. It's just that YouTube clearly thinks that something is wrong with the stream. So other platforms are more picky and actually will like fail with a stream that's too small. But yeah. Blackwood says, what device do I need for mobile live streaming with these 3 cameras? Panasonic HC X2000 with SDI out, Osmo Pocket 3, Mavic 2 Pro. What's the Panasonic HC X2000? I don't remember that one. Oh, big camcorder. This guy. Okay. So if you have SDI out of that, Osmo Pocket 3, which would be webcam out, not HDMI, DJI Mavic 2. The SDI is the problem child here. So if you want to run SDI directly into a switcher, then your options for switchers are more limited. But the new OC actually could be a solution here because it's probably not on their website yet. Yeah. The new OC GoStream Duet has the SDI outputs on it as well, or inputs. But importantly, it can also take a webcam input, which some switchers like the ATEM can't. So that's a good reason that you might go this route. The other option, of course, is like the Magewell Director Mini, which is this one. There's no SDI input. It'd be nice if they made a version with SDI, but you could either grab HDMI out from the camera or use a little converter box. But the other reason this is useful is because you can plug in a webcam over USB, like the DJI Pocket 3. To get the drone footage in, I would recommend using the controller with let's see, which is it? No, I don't want to sign in. That's a different story. I believe it's only the Pro that has the HDMI out of here, but there's an HDMI port on this one, which you can then run into a switcher also. Yeah, mini HDMI, which is weird. Why not micro? My Instagram video is one of the only search results for OC Duet. I'm not surprised. It's not out yet. It's just announced. So OBS is such an underrated, powerful tool. I wish someone would build an all-in-one box to support installing it. Agree or disagree? I mean, it's called a computer, right? So, a laptop. I guess the one thing missing is HDMI capture card, but those are small. Would be an interesting thought experiment to imagine a YOLObox Ultra that actually runs Windows and runs OBS. But then you actually this is very quickly sounding like a TriCaster. So yeah, I'm rather glad that it's mini HDMI as micro is so fragile. Yeah, that's true. I mean, all HDMI is really fragile anyway. Mark says, do you use an HDMI matrix in your setup? I've tried a 4x2 multi-view with the capture card, and it gives me multiple layouts of the 4 cameras. Oh, that sounds like something more than a matrix. That sounds like a multi-viewer. which are different things. The matrix, HDMI matrix would be the routing, so you can route any of the 4 to any of the 2. Multiview is a different thing. I don't use a multiviewer here other than the ATEMs, but there's some cool things you can do with it. I have an SDI matrix. I gave up on HDMI matrices because they're a mess. they're not good for live stuff. They're meant for like switching between what's on a screen occasionally. Just because the HDMI resync happens and it throws everything gets confused. But the SDI matrix, it's off right now, but it's only because I have a 40 input ATEM now, which I might have to bring it back into service because I'm got some more things in there in the rack that aren't connected yet that I want to be able to bring on the stream. Is the hybrid deck worth it versus just using Playout B? I'm using the ladder now for Playout, and thus far it's fine. So Playout B is like the software that runs on a Raspberry Pi or a computer that can emulate a HyperDeck. If that's working for you, great, stick with that. The big difference with the HyperDeck is that it can record also, first of all, but it's also extremely picky about video formats. Like you can only give it like ProRes or specific formats of video to play back. So Playout B will let you be more flexible with that. If Playout B is working for you and it's fine, stick with that because you'll probably have more trouble with the HyperDeck. The HyperDecks just do very, very different things. Like they can record to an SD card, they can record to a network drive. So lots of cool stuff you can do there, but it's totally different. I bent a micro HDMI adapter yesterday. I had to throw it away. OBS Ultracaster. Yeah. Is there a significant difference in efficiency to set all cameras the same resolution into the YOLOBox Ultra? No, that shouldn't really matter. It's gonna handle some amount of frame rate conversion and stuff for you, but I believe that's happening in the HDMI chip, not in the software, so it wouldn't really be a concern. Yes, but the TriCaster is 10K, so many people are requesting the features in the YOLOBox that's already working in OBS. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You can build a good little rig around OBS for sure. And yeah, the Emerald says you can run OBS on a NUC with N100 or i3. CPU fairly compact and can be USB-C powered. You can use a software switcher for SDI, UVC, HDMI if you have a powerful enough computer for SDI and Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. That would work too. Yep, for sure. Microsoft is coming out with their own ARM processor, Cobalt. I had not even heard of this. That's crazy. Not sure if you're at liberty to discuss yet, but for the replay setup, are you going to have a Blackmagic Cloud Store or your own NAS? I have the Cloud Pod, which is like I wasn't sure if I actually needed one, so I just got it to like test it. I bought this a while ago. This is the tiny one. So it's the same software that's on the bigger ones, but it doesn't have any storage built in. You just plug in a USB-C drive for the storage. So I have like a 2 terabyte drive in it. And that's what I was testing with. So I configured my HyperDeck in the rack to record to this over the network, and it worked great. I had 2 of them recording to it. Technically, it's not even a 10 gig link between everything because it goes through a 100 megabit switch or 1 gigabit switch in the rack. So it was actually just gigabit to this thing. But then my computer does have a 10 gig link to it, pulling the video files off into Resolve, and it worked great. So that's what we'll be testing with. I don't have a bigger one, and I don't really want to buy one because they're very expensive, but just because they like contain the flash storage in them, which is great. It's like easy, it's all just out of the box. It just works, right? But I got the tiny one to bring my own storage. These are a new interesting option though. Now that my understanding, didn't actually check this out at NAB. I should have checked this out. My understanding is that when you plug drives in here, they work the same way as these do. So that's an interesting option. I wish they would ban micro and mini HDMI. I purchased like 40 Sony ZV-E10s and I always buy the smaller converter micro to full. 40 ZV-E10s. That's a lot of cameras. Any idea when I can talk about the Secret Road thing? No. Still waiting. Still waiting. One of the reasons I had been thinking of getting a hybrid deck for future replay use. Yeah, the hybrid deck is going to be key for that replay feature to work, mostly because I'm pretty sure it only works in ProRes, just because ProRes lets you do that watch the file as it grows thing. And it records to a network drive, which is super cool. We'll see. We'll see. There was some chatter about replay features coming to the ATEM Mini ISO as well. I don't know exactly what combination of things it's going to be. It sounds like it might be. If that works with H.264, I'll be really surprised because the recordings that it does are H.264. I'll be surprised if it actually works well, but that would be cool. The rumor was that it's rather than the ATEM recording to a network drive, you'll be able to mount the ATEM's hard drive on your computer like you mount the cloud store. So that would be cool. Darlin says, can you do an in-depth video of how you use the 4Me with an ATEM SDI Extreme? I have the ATEM SDI, not the Extreme, but the I mentioned it in the studio tour video. I don't know if I don't know if I can really do more in-depth than that. But essentially I can send any of the inputs of my ATEM into the 4 inputs on the SDI, the ATEM SDI, to use it as a 4-channel recorder, like we were demoing a second ago with this. So I can send, I've chosen which 4 of my angles from the big ATEM are showing up in that multi-view. Then I use it as an ISO recorder. That's basically how I've been using it. Cool. Okay, well, it's been about 90 minutes. That means it's about time to wrap up. Let me scroll back through really quick to see if there's anything I missed I want to talk about. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this thing up because I've got somewhere to be. Oh, this is not a quick one, but let's see. What solution do I recommend for hybrid live streaming where one of the speakers connects remotely and shares a PowerPoint? The audience needs video and audio connection. Well, by far the easiest thing for this kind of hybrid or remote guest thing is StreamYard, or Restream Studio has a feature now too. Just because it takes over running the whole stream. You join as a webcam, your guest joins in their browser, they can share their screen into the browser, you get layouts, and it just manages everything for you. It's actually really well done. So that's a pretty good way to run a stream. If you don't need it to be like a stream, like a pushing out to like YouTube or something, there's always Zoom, right? And just using Zoom as a Zoom meeting or webinar. "90 minutes is the shortest stream for you." Yeah, well, yeah, that's because I gotta go help somebody move today. Sorry, no kittens today. No kittens today because they are busy getting chased around the house by Lily or something. Adam says, I always get the stream starts an hour earlier than it used to. I know. I changed the stream to start at 9 a.m. local time just because it was felt like it was starting too late once I started getting up at 5 on the weekends. But yeah, that's just the new time. That's just how it goes. That's how it goes now. It's fine. Okay. With that, we're going to wrap this thing up. Thank you to all of you for joining. Thank you to all of the supporters of the channel. Thanks to Marcin for being an extreme supporter. Oh, and I'll make sure I update my supporter list for next week since we have a new extreme supporter. Where was that? There, it was Larry. Thank you for being a new extreme supporter. I appreciate it. But yes, See you all next week. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the questions. Next week, I will try to remember to do the demo of the OC Duet. And did we lose our closing music? We did. Why is there no music? I don't know why there's no music. Different closing music. Okay. Oh, weird. I wonder why that didn't work today. Anyway, thank you for the questions. Thanks for the chats. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place. 9 a.m. Pacific, not 10 a.m. So hopefully you can join when we start and see a fun demo of the little desert island rig. That's what we're going to call it. All right. See you all next week. Bye.